In this video, we're going to answer the question, how can I use outside wall lights creatively to improve my garden lighting ideas? Fixing lights to the external wall of a building is one of the easiest and simplest ways to add light to an external space. However, because it is so easy, we often fall into the trap of losing creativity with our wall-mounted outside lights. And we just end up volleying a functional but perhaps quite ugly bulkhead or old-school coach lamp to the wall. So let's look at 4 ways to get creative with outside wall lights. Number 1, use as a secondary light source. Normally when we install an external wall light, we're interested in the amount of light that it throws out into the garden. However, wouldn't it be interesting to use them instead as a secondary light source, used for effect rather than a primary source for practical use? Now, this area that we're in here is quite well illuminated by all the other bits of light that we've installed along the way. So it gives us a chance to use something just a little bit different. So the first fitting that we're going to demonstrate is the Brock LED. It's a really interesting looking fitting, and it also comes in a bollard format, which you can pair with the wall mounted light if you're feeling adventurous. Now, the thing that makes this fitting interesting is that normally the light source in a fitting points outwards away from the mounting surface. But if you look at this fitting, the LED light source is mounted on the outside of this circular section, pointing back towards the mounting surface. Therefore, the light illuminates the wall and then bounces back towards the ground, creating a secondary light source and creating a totally different atmosphere to the lighting scheme out here. So let's get them all mounted up on the wall and see what the effect is like. Look at that. That's a far cry from the old coach lamp fitting that seems to be that favoured option for developers and DIYers alike. We've got this great looking light source that creates a fantastic effect on the wall and also reflects light back to the patio area here, coupled with absolutely minimal glare because the light source is tucked away out of sight. Brilliant. Number 2, play with shadows. Now, the Brock introduced us to the idea of a fitting with the light source tucked away in a different position. But the next fitting that we're going to try out on our wall here is the Guila. And it's a similar concept to the Brock, as the light source is on the inside of this front section again. But as you can see, the fitting is a bit bolder in its design, and that actually works to its advantage because it's got a broader section at the back here, and that's going to create a sharper shape on the wall when it's turned on. This really is a great looking fitting, and the anthracite grey finish there is beautiful. If you look really closely at it, you can see that it's got tiny points that reflect the light and really bring it to life in sunlight like we've got today. And its sleek design would make it at home in either the most modern of applications or give a pleasing contrast to an older property being refurbished or converted. So let's wait for it to get dark and then we can see it in effect. So you see, it's a similar effect to the Brock fitting that we saw earlier, but it's just that little bit more intense due to the larger thickness of the fitting, which gives a steeper angle to the delineation of the light and shadow, and also the fact that the light source has a slightly higher output. These two design features coupled together creates an intensified, more dramatic effect, and again really serves as a way to use reflected light to make this outside space feel a little bit more special. Number 3, stray out of your lane. Sometimes you'll find on a website information along the lines of, this fitting is only to be used in a commercial setting, or something along those lines. Well, maybe it's okay from time to time just to look at a fitting and use it in a slightly different setting if you think it's got merit. In this case, we're going to have a look at the Alto fitting from Ansell and see what this looks like in a domestic setting. Now, it's a pretty solid looking fitting and it might seem a little bit out of place in this environment, but I think it's got real down-to-earth utilitarian appeal. But the really cool thing about this fitting is that you can adjust the beam angle at the top and at the bottom. If you look carefully in one side here, you can see that there's these 2 little shutters that can be opened and closed to different positions to create different effects on the wall. Let's try a few combinations. First of all, we'll go for both fully open, and you can see that that creates an effect that's very similar to the Guila fitting that we looked at a moment ago. But then we can start to have some fun. you can see that we can close the shutters on the base. And if we take them right down to their minimum, it creates a much thinner spread of light underneath the fitting, almost like just a line on the wall here, which combined with the wide spread of light at the top creates a really interesting effect on the wall. It looks almost a bit like a martini glass on the wall there. And it's fully adjustable between 0 and 90 degrees on the top and bottom, which means that the scope for adjustment is huge. So if I put my light pollution head on, I like the idea of keeping this top shutter really narrowed down to create a beam of light up the wall, but opening the ones on the base really wide to give a nice spread of light down the wall and across the floor. It's such a great innovative feature on this product. So if you think that a commercial fitting would look really good in a domestic setting, then just go for it. Number 4, get the best of both worlds. Finally, we've got an absolute classic fitting, and you may remember this one from a previous video that we've made on wirelessly controlled fittings. Now, this fitting is not wireless in itself, but the lamps that we used inside there are, so have a look at that if you haven't done so already. Now, the reason I like this one is that, first of all, it's just a great looking fitting. It combines a classic look with modern simplicity and gives a nice wall effect with a good spread of outward light as well. I really like them in this application because the position of the lamp inside there and the blanking effect of the top and bottom plates create almost a curving effect as the light spreads out from the fitting. And you can see here it sort of frames the patio doors and the kitchen windows within that. Add to this the flexibility of being able to use wireless controls for the lamps installed, and you've got the best combination of advantages. A nice effect on the wall, a decent amount of light on the patio area, and easy control. So there we go, we've seen how trying something a little bit different can create some really interesting texture and turn your wall mounted exterior light from a purely functional item to a really great feature of an external wall. But as always, we want to hear from you. Which of these fittings do you think should be the ones that are going to stay installed on this property, and why? Do you have a go-to exterior wall light from Ansell that you like to use? Will you think about the way the light spread looks on the wall, or is it just all about functionality for you? Let us know your thoughts and questions in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching.